So a few of the themes that we recognized in How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia included corruption. Corruption is definitely seen throughout pretty much all of the businesses that are described and that are depicted in the story, whether it be the sales company. It talks about employees stealing from the boss. It talks about the general nature of the businesses that they sell pretty much expired products with fresh labels on them to markets and whatnot. So corruption is definitely a common theme throughout the entirety of the six chapters that we've read so far. Another thing that was pretty present was the social norms and the societal norms that were in place during the setting of the first six chapters. Pretty much the guys worked and the women stayed at home, and there's just very rigid, norms of procedures and chain of commands and all that goes on throughout the first six chapters so far. Another thing that was very prevalent was the insecurity in both the city and in the village setting. It seemed like there was a lot of poverty. They mentioned that protein was something that was hard for people to afford and come across just because of how unable they were to kind of raise the chickens and provide for the chickens in order to eat them. So insecurity is definitely present in both the villages and the city. Social divide is another thing that was discussed, as there tends to be the business owners who are rich, and there tends to be the people who are very poor. And it isn't very gray of an area. It's very black and white as to which one you are. And that's just kind of something that we also noticed. And the last theme that we really took note of was this concept of work-life balance. It seems as if almost everyone in the story spent their time just kind of living their life towards work in order to survive. So it didn't seem like they had much of an outside life going on. In fact, there was a chapter, I believe it was chapter 3 in the book, that discussed that, love is something that you should avoid if you're trying to be wealthy, and how to, if, to be rich in rising Asia. And so this concept of a work-life balance isn't one that you really see much of throughout the entirety of the first six chapters of the book.
So next was the required film. The Wolf of Wall Street is based on a 2007 memoir by Jordan Belfort and recounts his perspective of his career as a stockbroker on Wall Street. Belfort, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, is depicted as a power-hungry businessman whose obsession with money, drugs, and success ultimately leads to his downfall. The film is also directed by Martin Scorsese, the famous filmmaker. And throughout the film, Jordan Belfort talks about a lot of different things and how he became rich. And even at the end, he's selling his sales methods for how do you become a better salesman. And next, we want to share a clip with you with one of the first times he makes his sales pitch.
Yeah.
Protrons?
Yeah, computers.
No, we don't even need computers here. We just trade right off the pink sheets here.
Pink sheets?
Yeah, they're penny stocks. Companies that can't get listed on NASDAQ, they don't have enough capital, their shares trade here.
Penny stocks?
Yeah. This one, Aerodyne, is a really interesting, or Aerotyne.
Aerotyne, yeah.
Aerotyne.
Aerotyne, yeah.
Very hot stock right now.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're just a couple of brothers that are making radar detectors out of their garage. They're out in Dubuque. Maybe it's microwaves. I'm not sure, but you call the company's main line. Their mom, Dorothy, answers, and she is so sweet.
Good company.
I actually don't know what else to... I don't know anything else about them other than that.
6 cents a share? Come on. Who buys this crap?
Well, I mean, honestly, mostly schmucks. Postmen, there's always postmen.
Right.
Plumbers, they see our ads in the back of Hustler and Popular Mechanics, and our ads actually say they can get rich quick.
Hustler?
Yeah. You know the girly magazine?
Yeah. Nudie mag.
A lot.
Yeah.
We're helping them finance houses. We're helping them buy their wife a diamond ring, a boat, maybe.
Is this stuff regulated, or are you guys, what are you doing here?
Sort of.
Sort of? Jesus Christ, the spread on these is huge.
Yeah, and that's the point. What's your name again?
Mine, Jordan Belfort.
Jordan, what do you get on a blue chip stock?
I make 1%. I did make 1%.
Pink sheets, it's 50.
It's 50%? 50% commission?
Yep.
For what?
It's our markup for our services.
So if I sell a stock at $10,000, my commission is $5,000.
If you sell $10,000 worth of this stock, I will personally give you a blowjob for free. And I hope it happens.
Hello, John. How you doing today? You mailed in my company a postcard a few weeks back requesting information on penny stocks that had huge upside potential with very little downside risk. Does that ring a bell? Okay, great. Well, reason for the call today, John, is something just came across my desk, John. It is perhaps the best thing I've seen in the last 6 months. If you have 60 seconds, I'd like to share the idea with you. You got a minute? Name of the company, Aerotine International. It is a cutting-edge, high-tech firm out of the Midwest awaiting imminent patent approval on a next generation of radar detectors that have both huge military and civilian applications. Now, right now, John, the stock trades over the counter at 10 cents a share. And by the way, John, our analysts indicate it could go a heck of a lot higher than that. Your profit on a mere $6,000 investment would be upwards of $60,000.
Jeez, that's my mortgage, man.
Exactly, you could pay off your mortgage.
This stock will pay off.
John, one thing I can promise you, even in this market, is that I never ask my clients to judge me on my winners. I ask them to judge me on my losers because I have so few. And in the case of Aerotine, based on every technical factor out there, John, we are looking at a grand slam home run.
Okay, let's do it. I'll do $4,000.
4,000, that'd be 40,000 shares, John. Let me lock in that trade right now and get back to you with my secretary with an exact confirmation. Sound good, John? Great. Hey, John, thank you for your vote of confidence and welcome to the Investors Center.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
How'd you fucking do that?
Just like that, I made $2,000. The other guy.
All right, so as we can see from this clip, one connection we made is to kind of the theme Logan mentioned earlier is corruption throughout How to Get Filthy Rich and Rise in Asia. The main character, you in the self-help book How to Get Filthy Rich and Rise in Asia, he's a first apprenticeship. He's selling expired labeled good foods, and he doesn't really necessarily know what he's selling, but he tries to always convince the people at the stores that his product is good and why aren't you buying it? And the guy says, I know you're scam. And he's still wondering why he won't buy his product. And this kind of leads him down to start his own counterfeit bottled water business. And I kind of made this connection between him and Jordan Belfort, that in this scene here, he doesn't necessarily know what stock he's selling, but he's fluffing it up and making it seem good that somebody will buy it and he will profit off of it. And then next, we move on to themes of The Wolf of Wall Street. Some themes of The Wolf of Wall Street are greed, every man for himself, and capitalism. One quote from the book is, let me tell you something, there's no nobility in poverty. I've been a rich man, I've been a poor man, and I choose rich every time. And this is a quote from Jordan Belfort, and I think this is important because throughout the movie, money didn't buy Jordan Belfort happiness, but it made miserable being easier. And this is something similar to the main character and How to Get Filthy Rich and Rise in Asia. And additionally, in the movie Jordan Belfort, poverty didn't make him a better person or build his character. In fact, if anything, it was to his character's detriment. So as Jordan Belfort became more and more, made more and more money, he ended up becoming a worse and worse person and didn't care about his family and things like that. And as he moves on, there was a quote early in the book that he made $49 million in 1 year, and that really pissed him off because it was one short of $1 million every week. And then the next is from the Course Reserves. The book is called Capitalism, Commerce, and Imaginative Literature by Edward W. Younkins. And chapter 4 talks about the Merchant of Venice. And one quote from the book, it says, if anything, the contractual relationship between Antonio Bassino and Shylock, in addition to these characters' respective drives for love and profit, bring together longtime adversaries who, absent economic incentives, would never cooperate. I thought this quote was interesting because, as we said, this was seen in The Merchant of Venice. I believe this is also seen in How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia, with a lot of the characters' relationships with his bosses and his family members and other things, that he wouldn't be in this situation with these people if it weren't for this contractual relationship or transactional relationship. And then this is also seen throughout The Wolf of Wall Street with many of the different interactions Jordan Belfort has with different people throughout the film.
And then just to quickly relate these two pieces of literature, the movie and the book, to other literature and films that we have read so far. One of the themes that is very common that we've kind of discussed in the previous classes is the fulfillment of life's purpose type of thing. This is very present in The Death of a Salesman, Pursuit of Happiness. Essentially, you can just kind of see that, like in How to Get Filthy Rich and Rising Asia, the main characters are just kind of, their life's purpose is to work and to provide for their families, as opposed to, you know, kind of going out there and trying to find true meaning in life. You see this in Death of a Salesman with Willie, in the way that he carried out his life and the work that he did. And then it's kind of also seen in The Pursuit of Happiness, as Will Smith is just trying to, you know, provide for his family, and that's essentially his biggest concern, and that's all that really matters to him. In addition to this, we see the theme of work-life blend. It's also kind of related to The Wolf of Wall Street and Bartleby, where in the book that we just read this week, the main character kind of struggles with the concept of love and how it will impact their work. There's just that kind of disconnect between the life they live at home and actually being successful in the business world, and they just kind of tend to overlap a lot. Brings up the concept of, like, you know, the love for money is in The Wolf of Wall Street. Like, you see Jordan Belfort just has this obsessive love for money that ends up being everything he thinks about all day, every day. And that kind of blurs the lines between work and life. And then the same with Bartleby, where Bartleby he eventually ends up, you know, staying in the office that he works at. And there's just another depiction of that kind of work-life balance that's just kind of blended together. And then another very common theme that we see in a few of the different pieces that we've read so far is this concept of transactional relationships, especially in The Merchant of Venice, with you know, Shylock and Antonio Bassanio, as well as in The Metamorphosis. You look at the relationship that Gregor had with his sister, how she was essentially just, you know, he was the breadwinner for the family until he wasn't able to do that, and then the sister became the caretaker for Gregor, because, you know, he didn't want the family to have to see Gregor like that. And so there's just a lot of transactional relationships, especially in How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia. You look at how the boy and the girl met and how he initially just gave her DVDs, and how the girl became rich and famous by having this relationship with her manager at the salon that kind of got her these opportunities to become a model. And you just kind of see these themes very prevalently throughout a lot of the texts that we've read so far. And to wrap it up, just talking about the image of business in both the text and the movie that we had to read this week, I could say you would see both negative and positive reflections of the image of business. From the negative aspect, you know, business is essential for survival. You kind of see that in both the play and the book, or excuse me, the movie and the book. Other thing that's kind of seen is that business is morally blinding. And you see this through Jordan Belfort's actions and the way that his character develops throughout the entirety of the movie, as well as the kind of blindness to the acceptance of love in the book. And then you also see that business becomes one's identity, as, you know, the relationships and the communication that the pretty girl and the boy have in the book that we read this week. It's just, they kind of discuss what they do for a living, and that's something that really they identify with. And then in a positive light, you see that the image of business proves that there is opportunity. It's very opportunistic. You can become rich. In Jordan Belfort's case, you know, he saw an opportunity and he took it, and kind of took that all the way to wealth. And then another thing that we see is that the grounds in which success is determined is kind of seen through business. So people, you know, feel successful when they do good in business and they have a lot of money, and that's both seen in the book with the pretty girl and her success up to this point, as well as with Jordan Belfort's success.